What is your pricing strategy? Because you've built a premium brand, and I see it is almost as good as Good Earth. I don't know if it's safe to say that.
People that are already there in this segment, how are they pricing the same products that I want to sell? And where do I want to position myself?
Yeah.
Lower than this one, but above this one, but better quality than this one, whatever. If I'm sitting on a lot of stock, I want to move that stock and I cannot have a high markup, right? If I am somebody who is doing limited quantities, very specific product that can't be found elsewhere, I can charge a premium for that. Don't forget GST when you're pricing.
Yeah.
If you are a brand that is direct to customers and not working with any other retailers, you don't need to consider that amount of percentage in your pricing.
Yeah.
And you can give the benefit of that to the customers. If you are going to be working with multi-brand stores, they are going to charge anywhere from 20, 25 to 40%. That's just part of the marketing. So that is something that one has to consider. I remember a friend of mine many years ago had explained this to me. He was fresh out of IIM.
Yeah.
And I was already thinking about starting businesses. And he gave me the example of Walmart. So if Walmart was to come up with a super premium collection, I don't know if I'm going to trust that because I'm so used to looking for deals in that place.
Yeah.
And getting good price, but not the best quality perhaps.
Right.
Whereas if I go to a Louis Vuitton and get even one product that is slightly more approachable money wise, I'm going to be like, yay, I get to have something really nice, good quality, and it's not so expensive. So we wanted to use that for Sanctuary.
Right.
But not doing that just through markups.
Yeah.
Any price has to also reflect the quality of the product, right?
Yes.
So this is why we started with 100% linen.
Yeah.
Initially, for I think at least 2 years, our product line was 100% linen. There was not even cotton.
And you think this strategy takes time, but it gives you results in the longer run?
I feel like it builds trust. And it's also a good thing. Let's say you want to learn to have very good handwriting.
Right.
You're going to start with very slowly learning how to do it well, bringing quality, and then making it quick.
Yeah.
Right? That's the way to start. So if I bring the right vendors, the right quality, the right trust, the right customers, then I can expand later.
Do we launch with all price categories? Or should it start with a premium price and then launch with a more approachable price?
I'm going to give you a very intuitive answer. And I'm going to say, follow your instinct and follow what you know.
Right.
I know premium because I like premium.
Right.
I'm a person who appreciates quality, loves fabric, grown up with it.
Yeah.
So for me to think that, okay, how do I bring a very cheap, not good quality, cheap product that anybody can afford is just not who I am.
Yeah.
I can't place myself in the step of that customer. So I don't want to do that because I might fumble.
The ethos of the brand is also a reflection of your experience, of your childhood experience and your exposure around. Sabyasachi started, or I'm just giving his example because he's one of the intricate artists. He started with a very fine work, but his exposure was very different.
Yeah.
So how a person who might not have such an exposure, who might not have seen such things, how do they go about it?
I feel for Sabyasachi, he loves beauty.
Yeah.
And no matter where he came from, I'm sure he always loved beauty and always surrounded himself and educated himself with beautiful things.
Right.
And that's also what you see in his work. So it is aligned with who he is intrinsically.
Yeah.
I feel that's important and also safe.
So what I meant was a lot of people who don't have a premium exposure in life, access to premium things, they may underprice the product. A lot of people who have money also live in poverty mindset.
Yeah.
So they cannot see themselves pricing a product a certain way. So is there a math that we can apply to that?
I think pricing, funnily enough, is also connected with self-worth.
Yeah.
And for myself as well, for the longest time, I used to wonder, can I create something that people are going to find beautiful? Am I beautiful? And therefore, can I create something beautiful?
Yeah.
Do I have beauty inside me, value inside me? And therefore, as a reflection, does the brand provide something beautiful and valuable?
Yeah.
And would people pay for it?
Right.
If I'm creating watercolor, should I not account for the effort and resources and investment of time that goes into it?
Yeah.
Should I just consider that as free? Or should I actually consider something that's aligned to that in the pricing?
Because this time, effort, and this creative energy, people really underestimate that, especially in India, because the market is saturated. I would also love to know how saturated it is at the moment. If a person who wants to really start afresh should enter the market or not, and if they do, what should they do differently?
We are living in an overstimulated, overconsumption world, right? There is too much of everything.
Right.
And it's all generic and mass produced.
And another thing is, like, say I like your product, I can actually go to ChatGPT today. I'm not suggesting that, but ask ChatGPT, can you find me alternates? So nobody really knows what goes behind it, right? So how does one really work their way out in this market?
So for me, if I want to create a space or a home that really feels like me or that has personality, I want to ideally choose pieces that are handmade or have the human touch. Right? I can buy an IKEA product and I can buy, let's say, something that's like old furniture that has its own quirks, even if it's imperfect. That imperfect furniture is going to give me a sense of aliveness a lot more than the IKEA furniture. I'm not saying don't buy IKEA. I also use IKEA at home. It has to be a healthy balance.
Right.
But I would say it's the same with home decor or let's say cushions. Definitely somebody can copy, recreate something on, let's say, a Procreate where you're just not even using real paper or real pigments, just like painting on an iPad.
Right.
And here I am spending hours painting, digitizing, making sure the colors are right. There's a lot of effort that goes into design. But my belief is that when you have that cushion next to you, that's been hand painted and like digitally produced. And when you have a Procreate cushion, you're going to feel something when you have my cushion. And if you want to bring that into your space, then that's a choice. Also, in a space, rather than being influenced by overconsumption, if we are considered, if we are really thinking about what do I want to bring into this space and then choose wisely, it's like a capsule wardrobe for the home. So choose wisely, use good quality. Think about how soon you're going to get bored of that product.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great point.
How long is it going to give you joy?
Yeah. Any simple math that we can do for margins in a premium category?
Just remember that cushions can get more margin. Just because it's more of a design element product. Table is going to be the lowest margin. Because it's a basic product or almost like a commodity mindset. So people are going to compare apple to apple. And in the middle of that is bedding. There is design element, but also very price sensitive. Most price sensitive is table, so keep lowest that you can. Middle would be bedding, highest would be cushions. And even within cushions, divide it, have some really stunner cushions that are more expensive, have like a mid-range variety, and also have some basics that are price competitive.
If you want us to keep bringing such amazing content and business hacks, please subscribe to our Clips channel, The Sonika Mata Show Clips.